Oh, that was embarrassing. I think you hear my stomach growl. Why'd I do two fingers? 2004. Hey guys, I'm back. A couple of years ago, I read a book called Best Movie Year Ever, and it talked all about the year 1999 and the movies that were released. And it was one of my favorite nonfiction books that I've ever read. I really recommend that you should check it out. But I believed that there was a better year for movies, 2004. And that's kind of where this video idea was born. And it started as a very different video. When I thought of movies that came out 20 years ago, the first ones that came to mind were really those like girlhood, chick flicky movies. And so it was going to be all about the trend cycle and girlhood and all of those topics. And while we're still going to talk about that, I realized that there was a bigger kind of issue at play. And what we're really craving and what the industry really needs is the mid-budget movie. The mid-budget feature is usually between 10 and 90 million dollars according to Polygon. And that sounds like a really wide range, but it also tends to include a star or two, which is why that budget range is a little bit bigger, to really get people to want to come to the theater. And this type of movie has slowly become less prevalent in the Hollywood industry as they've decided to focus more on the big blockbuster moment in time cultural phenomenon flick. In the 30 years between 1991 and 2021, the average movie budget has actually ballooned from $21 million to over 70 million to like kind of paint the picture there. But when I go back to 2004, I looked at about 22 movies for this video. I did not watch 22 movies for this video, I'm going to be very honest. But when I looked at their budgets, only two of those were considered low budget that we'll kind of reference. 15 were mid-budget movies, and then 5 were those high budget releases. Can you name 15 movies that came out this year that were like at least like going to become cult classics and like theatrical successes this year? Like got a marketing budget, people cared, talked about it at work or at school. Exactly. So let's get into it and take a little time travel trip back to 2004. So we're going to start talking about the starlets of this time and my favorite movies from 2004 because that's really why we're all here, is to hear my opinion. And obviously, when you think of 2004 and you're like mid 20s, you are going to think of a few women. Those women are probably Anne Hathaway, Lindsay Lohan, and Hilary Duff. These three icons gave us like peak girlhood perfection during this time. Iconic quotes in Mean Girls and Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, feminist frameworks and classics like Ella Enchanted and Princess Diaries. If you didn't know, Princess Diaries 2 is actually written by the Shonda Rhimes. Yes, that Shonda Rhimes. And one of the co-producers was literally Whitney Houston. Rest in peace, legend. Thank you for all you have given us in this world. I had to just make that known in case you didn't know. And I don't have enough words for a Cinderella story, and I don't really know how to describe Raise Your Voice to someone who's never seen it, especially that clip where Hilary Duff is obviously not the person singing. But these movies were also successes. Like, in addition to kind of shaping what you would call like a zillennial cusper, it also really made its budgets back. Mean Girls made like 7 times its budget back in theaters. Most of these made 3 times their budgets back, and the couple that flopped, they lived on in video sales, television rights. Like Ella Enchanted didn't make its budget back, but it was on TBS every weekend when I was a kid. So somebody was getting paid something. And I think that what really made these movies special in this era of like chick flicks and 2004 mid budgets that were made for the teenage girl, and that really don't exist anymore from what I can tell and through my research, is the 2014 movies and the 2014 Queen genre really respected its audience. But I think what comes down to making quality content for teen girls, young women, and creating the teen starlet is having content that doesn't like disrespect or talk down to the target demographic. And I just wanted to lay that out because I think that's something that's really been missing from the discourse about it. But 2004, I want to thank you so much for giving me so much. I wouldn't be the woman I was today without Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen. Thank you, Lindsay. And in the same chick flick girlhood vein, we have to talk about the romances of 2004. Rachel McAdams was kind of having the year of her life. She was in Mean Girls, but she was also in The Notebook in 2004. And The Prince and Me came out in 2004 with the slept-on icon Julia Stiles. We've also got 50 First Dates, and what is likely my favorite romance of this era, if not all time, 13 Going on 30. When I say that movie is everything to me, I should probably just go ahead and give it its own video essay. Let's just go ahead and put it on the roster for an upcoming video. But what I'll say for now is that that movie and some of the others I mentioned have heart. They have a little guts, and life lessons, and everyone should watch 13 Going on 30 once a year. I obviously love this movie, but where are the high quality rom-coms? Don't drop a recent fave in the comments, because the closest we've gotten is to All the Boys I Loved Before. I liked Anyone But You, but it doesn't have any of the heart and guts from the full cast kind of firing on all cylinders in the ways that like 13 Going on 30 was kind of firing on all cylinders, let's be honest. But these are, so far, we've talked about two genres that have almost entirely disappeared as we move away from the mid-budget movie. It really just kind of eradicated whole genres of movies. It's like nearly impossible to get a rom-com or a teen movie created, because like obviously teens are probably not going to be a demographic with like enough money to get $1 billion at the box office. But if you gave it a $20 million budget, I promise you we could make something shake. I'm sorry. So the death of the mid-budget movie has really just taken away so much from us in terms of like the types of stories that we get to tell on the big screen. Yes, we get romances and rom-coms put on streaming more frequently now, but there's nothing like getting a big old bucket of popcorn from the concession stand and a Diet Coke and sitting in a theater. If you disagree, go try it and report back. And while we were getting the teen movies and the chick flicks that we aren't getting now, we also were getting other types of movies in 2004. Something that you probably forgot came out in 2004 is Super Size Me, the very problematic like McDonald's documentary where the guy ate McDonald's only every day and didn't disclose the other factors that might have hindered his health during that experiment. But we also get the phenomenal Spider-Man 2, Catwoman, For Better or For Worse, I, Robot, the final installment of the Blade franchise, The Day After Tomorrow, which is one of like my favorite end of the world dystopian movies, and so much more. We got so much more variety in the types of things we got. Even like when I named those movies, not all of those were big budget. Some of those were mid budget. Day After Tomorrow was obviously a big budget movie, but we were still able to go see Mean Girls in the same year. And I think that variety is actually partially what's killing the theater right now, is that I can only take so much kablooey boom 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 movies. I love a good kablooey boom 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 movie, but everything does not have to be that. And I just think that that's something we should think about. 2004 wasn't perfect. In every video I do, I really like to talk about racial diversity, because I think that representation is so important in the TV and films that we consume, not just for the communities that they represent, but also to show insight and like incite discussion between different groups of people who might not have had the same exposure to different issues, topics, people. If you live in a very homogeneous neighborhood or town or state, there are states that are more homogeneous than others. Like, you might learn something from seeing other people's realities. So we've progressed in the past 20 years, I would say, in terms of diversity, but 2004 was also a really good year for Black movies, if you were me. You Got Served came out in 2004, the B2K, Marcus Houston, Roger from Sister Sister, if you don't know, like dance flick that is so iconic. Do It for Lil Saint. Johnson Family Vacation. If you haven't seen Johnson Family Vacation, where have you been?
Fine, but I like my music non-violent with limited cussing. So nobody who's been shot. Here, come here, give me this. Okay, right here. Tupac Shakur. Shot.
Like, it's Cedric the Entertainer, Lil Bow Wow, Solange Knowles, and Vanessa Williams in a car for 90% of the movie, making you laugh. Like, I don't know what else you can ask me for. That makes 2004 an excellent year for film by itself. I still hit the dance that Uncle Earl hits at the end of the movie, like with Old Girl, when they're like that's my vibe. And that's also Jason Momoa's first like film. Like, what a gift. And this is also the year of Soul Plane, but we're not going to talk about that. But think about the careers that launched off of Soul Plane. And the last movie I want to talk about that was released in 2004 as a representation of like why I think 2004 is just so big. It's like in the same year you got Mean Girls and The Notebook and Spider-Man 2, we also got White Chicks. That just feels so full circle for like the girlhood conversation, the diversity conversation. Like, what a year for film. So what's the point? Like, why are we going down memory lane right now to talk about movies that came out 20 years ago? I think the point is that the trend cycle is kind of failing us in terms of movies. There's more content than ever, but how much of it is as memorable as some of the movies that I named in this video? Specifically, it's failing mid-budget movies if we think about the trend cycle. When you're seeing a rise in girlhood trends like Tomato Girl Summer or whatever we come up with tomorrow, you would think that as superhero movies kind of quell down that we would get the next big teen comedy, and we haven't. And the struggles of the superhero genre are apparent. They're getting less and less like attention. People are showing up to the theaters less and less. There's way too many of them, like way too many of them that I can't even keep up anymore. And you would think that the industry would look at this and say, maybe we should do a few smaller projects. There was a speech from a writer, I believe, at the Oscars this past year that was all about kind of dividing up the budgets, and instead of making one $100 million movie, what if we made five $20 million movies? And I felt nothing more in my life than that.
And instead of making one $200 million movie, try making 20 $10 million movies, or 50, right? 50 $4 million movies. Like, you can, there are so many people, I just feel so much joy being here. I mean, I felt so much joy making this movie.
And I'm not saying that there hasn't been any wins, right? I think that there have been. You have more artsy projects like Challengers that have been able to break through. We have streaming releases, like I mentioned before, like Red, White, and Royal Blue, An Idea of You, which I can't really find a lot of information on film budgets for because they were released on streaming. But again, I want to walk down the aisles of an AMC like Nicole Kidman and see a movie. And I don't want it to always have to be the biggest action flick where they use some brand new technology to bring it to life. Sometimes I just want to see a good story that feels a little bit more accessible on a day when maybe I'm feeling down. And what my like call to action for you is, if you enjoyed this video and you are thinking about like, this sucks that I don't have these, is next time you see a movie that feels like a Lisa Frankenstein, which is like an emerging cult classic that was released earlier this year, show up to the theaters to see it. Don't only show up when there's a Wicked or a Barbie movie, and I love Barbie and I plan to see Wicked, but remember the mid-budget movie, or vote with your dollars about mid-budget movies. Look out for the little guy or the middle guy the same way you would when they make Spider-Man 4. But I hope you enjoyed this Yap Sesh. Please, please, please drop your favorite 2004 movie in the comments. If I haven't seen it, I'll probably check it out. And subscribe for more content. I updated my content release schedule, so we shouldn't have a gap as big as was between the last couple of videos and this one. And I plan to keep more consistency as we head into 2025. I'm also launching a newsletter, so make sure to check out the link in the comments or in the description box below. It's going to be updates about upcoming videos, trends that I'm enjoying, content that I'm seeing coming out that I kind of want to share, and whatever else I kind of feel like sharing with you. We'll make it a little club. But thank you again for watching, and catch you next time.